Welcome back to another episode of the Lone Wolf Howlcast, howling out for logic and reason in a world filled with madness. Once again, I'm joined by Tiral.
How's it going?
Welcome back, my friend. Um, I just finished watching Terminator Dark Fate, and you can't see me because we're doing this remote tonight, but I'm doing the nose pinch right now, like right between your eyes, where people kind of do that deep breath and pinch the bridge of their nose right between their eyes, like that perfect little spot where a fist would fit. Oh man. First thing first, I will say if I saw it as a standalone movie and I had no idea what the Terminator franchise was, it was a pretty good movie in that respect, and the action does hold up. The action sequences are pretty good. It's actually pretty much actiony from 20 minutes in until the end. There's a couple down scenes where there's some exposition. I thought it was a neat angle to give this Terminator a personality. Like it wasn't just a machine, like it seemed to interact with humanity a bit,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, this is where it entirely falls apart. So, spoiler alert, I guess, although I think the movie came out in 2018 or
Yeah,
2019.
we don't need to. I don't think we need to put spoilers on this one.
Do you remember if it was 2018, 2019?
Uh, I think it was 18. I could be wrong.
Okay. Well, spoiler alert. So Eddie Furlong look-alike, aka Young John Connor, gets blown away in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Just casually, Sarah Connor is hanging out on a beach in, I don't even know where they're supposed to be. I think they're in the Bahamas or some crap. And she's hanging out on a beach watching little Johnny run off to go get an ice cream. And the maternal instinct that we've come to enjoy and learn about throughout the previous movies is utterly gone. She just lets some big strapping German guy walk right past her who looks suspiciously a lot like a CGI young Arnold Schwarzenegger and wraparound shades, walk up to John with what looks like a Benelli shotgun because they did it in slow-mo and pump a couple rounds right into little Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it started to fall apart for me because that's not Sarah Connor. That's not how she would react. Her and John Connor would be on the down low. There wouldn't be any open access or fallibility like that in her world. Everything would have been planned for. John wouldn't be careless either because in Terminator 2, we see that she's teaching him how to take care of himself once
Mm-hmm.
she's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like in the first 10 minutes, they completely dismissed the entire premise of the franchise, which is Sarah Connor needs to keep John Connor alive. She's a
Mm-hmm.
badass survivalist. She's teaching her son how to do this, right? And Skynet is the enemy. Guess what, Taral?
Mm-hmm.
Skynet's not the enemy in this one. It's pretty much not a Terminator movie, except that things kind of look like Terminators in
So,
it.
okay, what are some of the things you liked about the movie?
As I said,
Before.
if it was a standalone movie and I wasn't familiar with the Terminator franchise at large,
Mm-hmm.
like the bigger overarching storyline that started back in '84, I
Mm-hmm.
think it was Terminator 1,
Yeah, a very long time ago.
I would have liked it. I think forget that it was Femforce 1, Girls Get It Done, that the entire movie is women power and nothing can touch them. Turns out,
Mm-hmm.
actually, they can be touched in this one. They actually do get beat up a bit, which I appreciated. Made it a bit more believable, and I was able to suspend my disbelief a bit more because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that one of the heroines, or one of the Femforce ones, is an augmented human,
Mm-hmm.
which they sort of explained, but they don't really tell you what she's had done. So she just kind of pops up abilities left and right because you
Mm-hmm.
don't really know what her limits are.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool. Again, if it was a standalone movie that I wasn't aware of the rest of the Terminator universe, I would have enjoyed it entirely. What about you?
So, I thought the casting was really good. I was glad to see Linda Hamilton. I was glad to see the augmented human. Some of the action scenes were good. I think what the problems became was that there were some fundamental mistakes made in the overall story.
Okay.
The biggest fundamental mistake was that killing off John Connor in such a cheap way.
Mm-hmm.
that didn't mean anything and was very throw. It made John Connor, who was the focus of the first two Terminators, a throwaway. And oh, by the way, the real hero is this Hispanic girl. Uh, Immediately, I think it happened with me. It happened with a lot of other people, men and women. They were turned off pretty big, and they were like, "What the hell am I watching?" And you kind of lose stakes of the you lose uh stake in the story because after they kill John Connor, like in a very cheap way, nothing afterwards has weight.
Right.
Nothing afterwards really felt meaningful, weighty, or like just doesn't have that gravitas that was necessary for something like this. And I don't think the movie ever really recovered from that. Even despite having some good acting, some good character moments, it really didn't come back. At least not for me. And
Right. That's what I was saying. Is it's like they threw away the entire overarching premise of the franchise.
yeah,
They just disposed of it. They made Sarah Connor redundant and almost trivial in this as well because she was so overshadowed by Grace. Grace is the character from the future, the
mm,
augmented human that's sent back to save Hispanic girl because she was pretty vanilla for me. I don't even remember the character's name.
right. That was she was not a good casting. She couldn't hold up the movie.
No, now
The
if it was
actress
Rosario
was.
Dawson, ooh, I would have paid a lot more attention.
It just did. No, her. Okay, so I don't know how much of the fault was the actress and how much the fault was the script. Because the script didn't do her favors either. But I don't know if that was because they were like, well, she can't really carry it, so we gotta leave it alone, or whatnot. But she was not like again, you kill off John Connor, and then you have to replace John Connor with something heavy, and she was not. That was not. She was definitely not.
Right. So
Um,
I thought they were going to go with, well, this is the mother of the new savior of humanity. And of course, that savior is going to be a woman because it can't be anything else these days. You know,
well, okay, I gotta say that the Terminator franchise has always been about strong females. It was always about, like Linda Hamilton playing John Connor's mom. She was really strong and fierce, and you saw the transformation in Terminator 1 from, a basic valley girl to like the mother of the savior. And so I don't think the story choice to make the next hero a female was as egregious as killing off John Connor. Like
okay,
there had to be another way to hold up the previous characters that we have so much investment to and add what else you want. So if if it turns out that okay, we got John Connor, but now the computer is trying to kill the mom, the mother of John Connor, or like John Connor's
well,
partner.
let me interrupt you real quick.
Yeah.
I think the movie would have been better if John Connor was still around, and then we find out that, like, behind the scenes, maybe his wife has been assisting him the whole time in the future, and we find out that this is his wife.
Hmm.
And so maybe Skynet has finally figured out, okay, we can't touch John Connor. Well, who's the other tactician helping him? Okay, it's her. Let's go after her now.
Right.
I think that
I
would
think
have
that's a
worked
great
better.
idea.
Yeah, that would have worked so much better if it was a team. They were
Right.
working together to save humanity. And I keep wanting to call Skynet Netflix for some reason, which makes no sense.
I agree. Again, we're both coming to the same understanding that there's these critical story flaws, and just a few decisions one way or the other would have helped. And there's also externalities on how this movie was perceived, meaning people were fatigued with the Terminator franchise, and
You
they were
think so?
fatigued. Oh, 100%. That was listed as one of the in the post report
Hmm.
of the movie coming out. That was the number one thing that people said that they didn't want to even go there to the movie theater to see this because they're sick and tired of Terminator movies coming and they were all bad. So at least two Terminator movies before this one were really not well liked, and people were just like, I'm not gonna go waste my money. They're gonna
Hmm.
keep trying to reboot it and reboot it over and over again. I'm not going. And so people didn't go. So people didn't even give it a chance, even though, relatively speaking, this was a okay movie. They
Right,
didn't
like I
even give
said
it
in
a
the
chance. Yeah.
beginning, as a standalone movie with no prior knowledge of the Terminator franchise,
Yeah.
this works as a standalone.
Hmm.
As a new introduction, or not even a new introduction, because that completely is the opposite of what I said. But a
Hmm.
standalone movie with no prior knowledge of the franchise, this movie works. But
Hmm.
unfortunately, that's not the case.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, I think a really good alternative would have been if I just remembered her name, Danny.
Hmm.
Danny is this Hispanic woman. If it turns out she's the wife of John Connor, and she's like he's the operations guy and she's the tactician. It
Hmm.
turns out to be something like that, you know.
Hmm.
And Skynet's like, okay, well, she's got to go. We can't touch John. We're going to go after her instead.
Hmm.
That would have, I think, that would have made for a much better movie. And then John Connor's alive, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe we even get to see him as the fourth wheel in Fem Force One throughout the movie, you know.
Well, they I think it would have been you know how I was talking about other things outside of the actual movie that made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Furlong became a drug addict, and so you couldn't really use him as an actor anymore.
Right.
And CG Edward Furlong is too expensive.
But don't forget, this movie is, I think, takes place in 2018. It didn't take. It wasn't like a movie made in 2018 that took place in like 1990, right? They used,
Right.
I think, Terminator 3. They had an older actor whose name escapes me right now play 20-something-year-old
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
John Connor. So they could have brought that
Yeah.
guy back, or brought back
But just
somebody else. Because
recast.
I think they could have recast because they've done that a bunch in Terminator 1. When you see the future, the actor playing like old John Connor, you never see him again. I think it was a different guy in the future shots in Terminator 2. And then fast forward a little bit, and we have Christian Bale playing older John Connor. So it's almost like Superman. Like there's been so many different Supermen.
Right.
You could have easily recast John Connor, and nobody would have cared.
I think you and I, as fans, think that way, but behind the scenes, the CEOs they decided that that wasn't a possibility.
Well, then we should be the CEOs because those guys fucked up.
I mean, because they brought everyone back. They brought Linda Hamilton back. They brought Schwarzenegger back. They like, so the idea they wanted a nostalgia feel, I think what I read was that if they recasted him, it would have broke the immersion, quote unquote.
But they've done it before. Like they've had Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton and different John Connors.
Well, so this goes back to what I was saying that there was all this other extra stuff. This is the third or fourth company to hold the Terminator rights.
I
They
didn't
keep
know that.
they keep rebooting it. They keep coming back to it and trying to make it work, trying to make it work, and then they sell it off to someone else. So this was this like so the last movie was an attempt to try and start a trilogy or a franchise, and this movie was an attempt to start off a trilogy or franchise, and the audiences were just like, we're not going, we're not. I'm gonna watch it on Netflix. I'm not gonna go out and watch this. It's gonna be crappy. It's not gonna end because that's what the last two movies did. They didn't really end, and people were just like, oh, they just you kept trying to force feed this franchise to people,
Yeah.
and eventually everyone was fatigued. Same thing happened with RoboCop.
Yeah, that remake was such a downer. I like the new design look because he almost looked like a Cylon,
Yes.
because he had the red visor going on. He had
Hmm.
like the super bike,
Hmm.
but they completely changed. The original RoboCop, the Peter Weller version. Peter Weller is Officer Murphy, aka RoboCop. Dude, that nearly got an X rating because of the violence. They actually had to forget sexual content being X for hardcore sex, right?
Hmm.
It almost got an X rating for the violence. They had to tone down their violence in it. I think the scene where he gets shot up in the abandoned factory
Hmm.
I think it was written severely worse. Because even watching him get picked apart with shotgun rounds was like hard to
Hmm.
watch, and apparently the original script had him getting just wrecked even further.
I'm I'm for it, man. That movie was great.
Yeah, RoboCop was fantastic. I still
Yeah.
make jokes about the SUX 2000. You know,
Yeah.
the freaking supercar, not the supercar, but like the luxury car of the near future. I think it got like 8 miles per gallon.
It movie.
It was like double the weight it should be.
I mean, that movie is absolutely fantastic, and I can't say enough good things about it.
The only
It's just
downside is
yeah.
I believe, was it RoboCop 1 or 2 that Officer Lewis has an ambiguous off-screen death, and unfortunately they don't make her into a RoboCop,
I don't think it was
which would
one.
have been
It
cool.
was. I think it might have been two.
Might have been 2. That's right. I think Ed 209 was RoboCop 2,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. So she has an ambiguous off-screen death because like she gets shot up in a scene, but she doesn't die during the scene. Her character doesn't die during the scene,
Hmm.
but then she's not in the rest of the movie, and there's no mention of her at all. Like she was just a footnote, which kind of sucked because she's the A and B, or she's one part of the A and B epoxy that is RoboCop and Officer Lewis.
Officer Lewis is. I mean, would we call her underrated? I think most people realize that she was integral to making that movie work.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think most people get it. Like, it's not one of those where you have to argue. Um, there's another RoboCop coming out supposedly,
Well,
and
I haven't seen anything on any of the sites and insiders that I pay attention to.
and
So wait. Is this new RoboCop 2 or yet another reboot?
I think they're trying to do another reboot. Yeah, it's one of those. Again, I'm sorry. You know who was good in the RoboCop remake? This shouldn't be a surprise. Michael Keaton. He was really good.
He was in the remake?
Yeah, he was in
Was
the
he the
remake.
bad guy?
He was the bad guy. Yeah, he
Oh,
was
I don't
he
even
was the corporate
remember.
shell. Yeah, he was really good, and I gotta credit where credit is due. That was like he pulled it off. The movie was bad, but he was good in it. And yeah, going back to Terminator, so there was these story choices like keep John Connor alive.
Right. That's the mission of every movie. Keep John Connor alive,
And,
either
and
now or in the future. Right.
and yeah, and this one you can have the Latina girl be a hero. It could have been like, okay, now the robots are giving up on John Connor. They're sending stuff to his number one general slash love interest. That would have been cool. That like the hero of the future, his right hand general is a woman, and that would have been like a nice feminist um a story arc. That's more than like cool. It's more than capable.
Yeah.
But they didn't. I don't think people could take that movie seriously after that first initial misstep. I don't think people cared that much that the CG wasn't great. It was good. It was good
Yeah.
enough, but it wasn't
You're
great.
right. Now that you mention it, you're right. When the Rev 9 model, they're not even called Terminators, by the way, folks. In the new movie, they're not even called Terminators anymore. I don't think they're. I don't think they have a particular name, but this particular robot is called a Rev 9, which I guess is super secret sauce for Revision 9,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so the concept of this, not Terminator, is that it's an endoskeleton coupled with a T1000 liquid Terminator, or sorry, liquid not Terminator. So it's two Terminators, two not Terminators in one, and they can separate. And during the separation CGI, or when the liquid version went from liquid back into a humanoid shape, it did kind of get a little flat.
Hmm.
It did get a little flat at times. I did notice that it was like, oh, that's obviously CGI, instead of like Terminator 2, where the T1000 turns from an effing checker pattern floor into Robert Patrick, aka T1000. It still holds up. Like that scene is still like, whoa. And then in the modernized 2018 movie, the CGI transitions are kind of flat. You're right.
Yeah. If the storyline was really fun, I don't think it would have been. I don't think they would have cared. I know I
Mm,
didn't. I didn't really. care. Like, I want Terminator I want Terminator movies to be good. I mean, Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, I mean, it's the biggest debate, which is a better movie. I'll die on my hill that Terminator 1 is the better movie. But there's people who die on the hill to say, no, Terminator 2 is the greatest. And like, we love these movies, and we love these characters and the story and the future so much. It's just very sad at how things are going. And it's been killed, like, that franchise has been beaten to death. There's no way there's another Terminator movie, at least not with Arnold Schwarzenegger being alive. I mean, that's the other thing, man. He's not gonna, he's
Yeah,
not gonna
well,
be there.
the oh, that's another. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Terrell. I
Yeah,
know
no,
you
no
were on a
problem.
roll there, but that's another craptastic point about this movie is that the same damn Terminator that takes out Johnny Boy
Hmm.
back when, because he was still, I think preteen or maybe early teens in the first 10 minutes, has
Hmm.
somehow decided to grow a conscience during its time on Earth after completing its mission and get married
Yeah, a sexist
and
marriage.
become an old man. Yeah, it is not a physical relationship. It
Oh
says,
God.
oh, and it
Yeah.
takes on a name. Its name is Carl.
Right. S-
So Arnie Termy T800,
sells
uh,
blinds.
yes, is a blinds guy. He sells effing blinds. The Terminator has now become American middle class
Yeah.
and sells blinds and lives in a really weird, isolated wood cabin out in the middle of like Montana or some crap. And he's an old guy. The
Yeah.
Terminator decided to grow a conscience and age.
It was not a good idea. I don't think it was good. I really. I mean, I get it, but it's just doesn't make sense. No, I mean, again, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he needs to stop being in charge, because him being in charge kind of tanked his own career. Like, because people don't trust him anymore, they're not making another Conan movie.
Wait, was
'Cause-
he behind the one that had Jason Momoa in it? He couldn't have been, was he?
no, no, he wasn't.
Okay, but I don't think. I mean, Artie still didn't even really speak English when they did Conan the Destroyer, the second one.
He he
So,
was the one. I mean, he was a millionaire before he started acting, and
mm-hmm.
he he was he was trying, like, after his divorce and after he stopped being governor. He was really trying to be to restart his career again. And Terminator was supposed to be one of his career resurgence. Like, he's the reason why Linda Hamilton came back to act. She retired.
Mm-hmm.
And because he kept failing and he kept making these bad movies that are outside of the old franchises, he's the reason why Conan the Barbarian with him is not happening. And I was listening to a podcast about the head writer of Conan the Barbarian, um, the one with Jason Momoa, and he said that the main reason why the new Conan looked so bad was because they picked the wrong director. The director, the executive producer, the writers, everyone on staff, they were just not on the same page. And the director would just ignore the writing and force the script writers to write new scenes on the spot. Like, if you notice that, according to the actual writer of the movie, if you notice, the beginning of the movie was so much better than the end. It was because in the beginning they already had the sets built and everything, so the director had to do the script. But as soon as the director didn't have to, he immediately went a different direction, and the conflict didn't produce a better movie. Sometimes it does, but not in this case. It definitely didn't.
So
Yeah.
I'm wondering. Bear with me here, Terrell. You ready? I'm
Hmm.
wondering if there's a singer script of the Jason Momoa Conan movie that's better than that one because, well, okay, I'm fighting against myself on the Conan movies. I'm a little biased because in the books, the original like 1950s, 60s novels, Conan is super well educated.
He's
Uh, he,
clever. He's very
he's
clever.
clever. He's a philosopher. He's a tactician. He's also a master thief.
Hmm.
Okay, now the reason Conan didn't talk a lot at all, if any, and Conan the Barbarian is because Arnie didn't know English yet. So, plus, who wants to see Mr. Universe with a giant sword philosophizing while he's cutting down hordes of bad guys on
Right.
screen, right?
Right. Right.
But then remake comes out with Momoa, and he's talking the entire time, and I was just like, "Shut up!"
Yeah. Too
You
much.
know. Whereas the character in the books definitely talks, has in-depth conversations. So between you and me and our listeners, I don't find Momoa to be that fantastic of an actor. He's pretty much the same character in everything he plays.
I I don't think he's the greatest actor in the world, but he does have a lot of natural charisma. I don't think the Aquaman movie would have done as well as it did without Jason Momoa, because the script was not good and the CGI was not that great, and it's yeah, like so uh there's a bunch of things that he's capable. He's not the greatest. He like you said, he plays the same person in every movie. That's I don't think you can't deny. And but he's not the worst he can get. He's all right.
I might have had more exposure to him to you. Like my first exposure to him was in Stargate Atlantis, and he played a character called Ronan.
Yes, Stargate
Okay.
Atlantis was good stuff.
Stargate. Well, you know what? We're gonna have to talk about the whole Stargate universe. I think on one of these because
Why
I'm
not tonight?
watching. Why not tonight? Because we only have an hour, and it's already 10 p.m. where we are. But I'm rewatching the original Stargate SG-1.
Hmm.
It's on Amazon Prime,
Hmm.
and I forgot how enjoyable it was, and even for something in the late '90s, like Major Carter, Samantha Carter, for those who
Hmm.
aren't familiar with the series, is a force to be reckoned with. She's not just a backup character, you know. Dr. Fraser, I can't remember her first name, but she's a female and she plays an important role for the episodes they have the actress for. So, and I'm not like I'm not femboying here, you know. I'm not getting my feminist cheerleader outfit out, but it felt organic,
Hmm.
you know. So I think we're gonna have to talk about that more next time because I'm still complaining about Jason Momoa. So he's in I think he's in Amazon Prime. I might have the wrong platform, but it's a show called The Frontier,
Hmm.
and it's about colonial East Coast, I think upstate New York and like the Hudson Valley area, America,
Hmm.
and the fur trade, and the British are still in power. It's like it's pre 1700s. I think it's 1600s, and he plays an ousted fur trader named Declan Hart. And
Hmm.
you might as well have called him Conan. You might have called him Arthur, whatever the hell his name is, Aquaman.
Arthur Fleck, yeah.
It's the same exact character,
Right.
same guy, except with different makeup. You know.
Right.
So I think I would like to see him a bit more diversified, or at least try a different persona.
I don't think he's gonna change. I think he is who he is because he's
Yeah.
he's an older guy. He's made a career. He's getting paid to do certain thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I when they casted him for Conan, I honestly thought it was because the I thought it was because he had they were gonna do like a clever Conan, a Conan that runs, a Conan that isn't muscle bound, is more like some of the original storylines where Conan was clever like a barbarian, like more not brain dead, not not this muscle bound Hulk, which
Well, he
Arnold
is muscle
Schwarzenegger,
bound in the original novels. Like he is
not like Schwarzenegger was though.
he's a physical specimen though. The Cimmerians,
Yeah.
which is the race from which Conan is from, are known for their physique and endurance and prowess and whatnot, and their jet black hair. That's also a feature that gives them away. Apparently,
Mm.
nobody else in the Conan universe has black hair except Cimmerians.
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought that's the direction they were going. That was what I thought, and it clearly I thought wrong. It was not a smart movie, and that's the reason why they're not, between the failure of Dark Fate and the failure of Conan and whatnot, it's not gonna get done. There's no Arnold Schwarzenegger movies to be made.
Right, unless he's playing an old man, like in that movie. He was a sheriff in like some podunk nowhere
With the Last
Arizona
Stand,
town.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it's called The Last Stand, right?
right, Last
And
Stand.
it turns into an action movie, but that kind of was like hard to watch. You know what he might be good in? Coming
What?
back as an old man is if they do another Expendables, like a more modernized, up to date Expendables, and he comes back
Mhm.
for something like that. Because like him and old Stallone and old Dolph Lundgren, and I don't even know if Mickey Rourke is still alive or not, but like old
He's
Mickey
alive.
Rourke,
Yeah, he's alive.
yeah.
He's on drugs again, but
Oh,
yeah,
great.
yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, I was really hoping the Mickey Rourke Renaissance would be permanent, but you know,
Dude, I
not.
saw a picture of Sean Penn today,
He
and he
looks
looks
haggard.
like, yeah, he looks ancient.
Yeah, he looks real haggard.
Yeah,
He's it's okay though. I mean, that's all right. People get
yeah.
the
Who are
age.
we anyway to be complaining about?
Yeah,
Multi-millionaire,
yeah.
multi-million dollar,
He gets the age.
demanding and getting paid actors.
Yeah, yeah. No, he gets the age. That's fine. But Mickey Rourke, it was more like, he kicked off the drugs. We were hoping that he always had the talent. He was just super self-destructive.
Hmm.
And I really liked him in The Wrestler. You want to talk about The Wrestler? Because I'm game.
I actually haven't seen that. I keep meaning to.
I mean, Lone Wolf, man. All right, we've got to. That is a must. We got to watch that.
Well, we could probably have a hang and watch that one.
That is I would say the greatest movie to do with wrestling ever made.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
I
yeah,
would tend to
yeah.
think Highlander One was the greatest wrestling movie. What with Mr. T and Hulk Hogan in the ring together.
No, no, no. I mean, The Wrestler. It's one of those movies that sticks with you, and you forget. Marissa Tomei might be a Highlander. She doesn't age. Um,
Yeah, she still looks great in the new Spider-Man movies.
she might be a Highlander for all we know. Um, I think so. Between Sin City and The Wrestler, Mickey Rourke, like you really thought that he was coming back. Like, oh my God, the talent. Like this guy is he's back, and we're the better world for it. But
I interrupted you before. I do
no, no,
wanna
no.
pitch a little bit more about the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well,
Okay,
you were on a roll. You're
let's.
still talking about the wrestler Marissa Tomei, and I said yes, she looks
Oh,
great in the new Spider-Man movies, and you were saying something else about her.
let's watch The Wrestler, and maybe talk about it next podcast or the podcast after that. Let's finish on the Terminator. Let's
Sure.
our concluding comments. Like, what would you do or what did you think about the Terminator franchise, where it's at, what the characters are, you
Well, I
know?
think they killed it with their Fem Force One, Girls Get It Done, Terminator Dark Fate, which, by the way, the title was like a throwaway title. Like, how does that? It doesn't even relate to the movie.
Yeah.
What's a dark? First of all, what is a dark fate, right?
I mean, the
Uh,
original fate of the world was pretty dark, so I don't know how much more
right.
dark.
I do think. Oh, you know what? You just reminded me of something. So in Terminator One, or is it Terminator Two, where Sarah Connor is standing at the fence of the playground and the nightmare
Terminator
she
1,
keeps having, and
Terminator 1.
the nuke goes off,
Yeah.
right? So Terminator Dark Fate ends the same way, except with the character Danny at a fence watching kids play on a playground, and the nuke doesn't go off, but they drive off. I think they use the same damn Jeep. Danny and Sarah Connor drive off in a Jeep together, an open top Jeep Wrangler.
Uh,
I think they use the same Jeep that Sarah Connor drives off into the sunset with.
it's it's pretty strange.
Yeah, it was. It was. I guess it was like this half-assed attempted callback to the originals. But if you're trying to relate to the originals, and yet you're going to just throw away every concept of the original idea of the Terminator universe, I don't know
Yeah.
where they were going with it. Like I
Yeah,
said
it's
initially, they made Sarah Connor redundant and trivial because she didn't even need to be in that movie at all.
It was great that she was.
Yeah, but then again, Linda Carter didn't feel like she was really even trying too hard in her scenes. You know,
Mm,
like it felt like she was pretty flat. She wasn't. There wasn't a whole lot of emotion, even when she's talking about watching John get killed.
hmm
Like even that was there wasn't even a lot of venom in the way she was saying it. You know, like I think they tried to do the tough, proud whammon a little too hard with this one.
what am I trying to say? I'm thinking like the story could have been done better. It should have been so obvious that they were trying to start another trilogy or sequel series. I think if they just concentrate on making a good movie on in that world that that innovates but also kind of respects the past, um, maybe with better acting, uh,
Hmm.
like so it. I think, or maybe they should have just waited another year or two so people would forget about the Terminator before, because the Terminator before was a heresy. It was horrible. The Terminator before, they made John Connor, the savior of humanity, turn evil.
What in Genesis?
Yeah,
I don't remember him being evil. I remember him
he
being a jerk.
becomes he becomes the he gives up to the machines and starts working for the machines. So and the girl who plays Khaleesi in Game of Thrones,
Oh, something Grace.
Daenerys, she
Was it
really
Amelia Grace?
Emilia Clarke,
I always call her Amelia Grace. I don't know why.
she really can't act. She can't act for her life, and it's just like she was a big part of the Genesis movie, and it was obviously for the worse. Um, issue with Linda Hamilton that kind of rubbed people the weird way was she was doing all these action scenes, and you're like,
Yeah.
wait, she's a 50-something year old woman doing these things, and people were kind of bitching about that. I just think it was. This franchise the rights to this franchise keeps going from company to company, and each company thinks they're going to start a new franchise. And
Yeah.
if that's your focus, it's not a winning. Like the odds of winning is very poor, I think.
Well, they have to validate also the millions and millions of dollars that the production company has dumped on them. So I think if you go into it thinking, "Oh man, this project sucks," you're just
Yeah.
going to end up wasting the money.
Yeah.
And nobody's ever going to be like, "Sorry, production company, here's your buckets of money back." No, of course they're not going to give the money back. They're going to try
Yeah.
and make something out of it. You know who
Yeah.
we haven't seen in a long time? Speaking of throwing money away on movies,
Who?
Uwe Boll. I haven't seen anything from him in a while.
Oh, that's because they've stopped giving him money.
No, what?
Yeah,
Wait a
yeah.
minute, but isn't he's German, right? And in Germany, I think if you do like some sort of art project, like a movie, and it's failed, you can write off the whole thing as like a tax
he,
write-off or something
you're
weird like
right.
that.
He was a master in
Failed
he
movies.
in horrible movies, but done super cheap. And the thing was that people got wind of it. I think he became famous for it, and the fans stopped getting suckered into trying out his movies. Because oh, it's Resident Evil, oh, Blood Rain, like video game stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, so his whole way of making movies really fell apart, and he made one too many movies that didn't make any money, even after all the write-offs, and they stopped giving him money altogether.
Hmm. Well, I guess that's why we haven't seen it. There's still some sort of like horrific charm to his horrible movies.
Yeah, he's bitter about it. He's super bitter that he can't get funding anymore. He's legit like not happy. And yeah, I mean, I don't think we're missing much, but
You're probably right.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, anyway, I started out with Terminator, but I saw some stuff online today. I'm watching a channel called Clownfish TV, and they're pretty outspoken about the wokeness of Hollywood and all the just the dumb shit going on there with trying to hit the check boxes instead of actually create good content. And even I think Joe Rogan had something about Laura Dern playing like a vice admiral in a military role with her like super ultra weird stretched neck and purple hair like somehow qualified her.
Everyone hates the hair.
It wasn't just the hair; it was like the weird neck because she doesn't look like that in real life. But she was like a pygmy woman with the brass rings around the neck and the stretch. It
I
was
think it was
super
just
weird.
the dress that they had her on, you know?
But like her character, so I get it. It's sci-fi. There's suspension of disbelief that these things can exist. But maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I still expect to see some sort of tactical acumen and understanding of military assets out of people that are supposed to be leaders, right? So like when you got the two guys who have a clue telling her what needs to be done, and her and Space Wizard Leia are like, "You two need to shut up, or you're going to the brig." It's like, okay, the feminazism in freaking Star Wars has gotten out of control. And then what does she do? She proceeds to get the entire rebellion killed because she doesn't know what to do. She's like, "We're just going to fly away from them until we run out of fuel." It's like, what? What kind of dumbass decision is that? And that's what they proceed to do. The First Order, aka the Empire, with their new super cool shiny giant star destroyers, just follow, and just any ship that starts to slow down from the rebellion just gets blown apart. Not only that, whose idiot idea was it that futuristic spaceships run on combustion fuel?
Uh, Rian Johnson is not technically sound.
Yeah, he sucked. He was a
He's
horrible director. He made some absurdly bad creative choices that just killed the franchise.
Ryan
Thinking it's
Johnson, Rian Johnson. Yeah.
Rian. I thought it was Rian.
Rian, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rian Johnson. Like, where the hell did they pick him from? Did he just get out of film school and was like super excited because they're paying him in peanuts, maybe or something?
He so this is I've seen a couple of his movies. He's got Knives Out. He's got Good Times and something something. He has a really good eye for visuals. Like he seems to be like a art director that got promoted way too fast. He's very good with visuals. He did a couple of like very good indie movies, but good as in like, oh, this was really interesting to watch. Uh, he's not. He's always quote unquote subverting expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So very few of his movies feel rewarding. So I'll give you his best movie, at least commercially, is Knives Out, which is the first
Mm-hmm.
movie he did after um, the Star Wars movie. It's set up to be a mystery movie where there's all these actors playing, possible killers, and an investor goes in and has to figure out what happened. And when you actually, can you do the spoiler warning?
Oh, spoiler alert.
Thanks.
Wait, one more time. Spoiler alert. Okay, go.
It turns out that the mystery's pretty much out of the way in the first quarter of the movie, and you follow around this girl that was helping the investigator for the rest of the movie.
Right.
And it's not. I mean, it's okay. It's a more than okay movie. It made really good money. It was people like it, and he's gonna make more movies like it because how well it did. But I feel like he gives you. He always doesn't give you what you want. That's his thing. That's his shtick. Like it's not just Star Wars. This is what he does. This is who he is.
Well, my complaint with Star Wars is not only his poor direction, it's also the overt, just here's in your face, feminism is strong and we're right and you're wrong. That nonsense really also killed it for me too. It made no sense. Like, why does that need to be shoved down? Like for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Leia is fantastic in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She's calling shots in Empire Strikes Back. She's in charge of the rebel base on Hoth.
Mm-hmm.
She's the commander. She stands up to and also talks down to Han Solo,
Mm-hmm.
and like pretty much tells him to f off when he's getting ready to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Return of the Jedi, people may forget, even though there's a whole separate controversy about why is she in that bikini? Why is she dressed like that? She kills Jabba the Hutt in the bikini.
How
No armor,
controversial was that in the 70s?
not at all. It's controversial now because of
Okay.
stupidity.
Yeah, I
But
was gonna
no
say.
armor, no weapons. She chokes out Jabba the Hutt barehanded. Okay, so put that in your pipe and smoke it, I guess. Right?
Right.
Like Luke doesn't take out Jabba, Han Solo doesn't take out Jabba. She kills Jabba. You might be hearing the bottle pop. I'm just having a little bit of Lafroig right now. So the feminazism of the sequel trilogy really just killed it for me. And it's like these people have to be in charge. Their only qualification is because they're female. You
Boy,
know,
Lone Wolf, you're really, really not gonna like Wonder Woman 84.
I still want to give it a shot because I like Gal Gadot. From the trailer visuals I've seen, I like the look, but it's not just me. Even people I know, like guys that are super feminist,
Mm.
said it sucked.
Yeah,
So it's not just me. I'm going to give it a go anyway, but I'm guessing you're going to tell me, well, they're women, so they're in charge, right? Is that what the
it's
case is?
so there. Okay, so I didn't know this, but this is in Hollywood. They're actually saying that Ryan Johnson or Rian Johnson, like whenever you make a woke movie that's so bad and poorly received and doesn't meet the fans' interest, they're calling it the Rian Johnson. And they're saying Patty Jenkins
They're
Rian
calling
Johnson
the
herself.
Rian Johnson.
Yeah, Patty Jenkins Rian Johnson herself. And I thought that was hilarious because it's
Oh,
so mean. Like, it's so mean to the guy. But she had a very conflicting, very combative experience making the first Wonder Woman movie because they didn't. A lot of her ideas got combated, and she had to compromise on too many things. She didn't want a final fight in the movie of the original Wonder Woman, and they had to convince her. Like they forced her to make a final scene, and that's the reason why the final fight in that movie isn't so good because she was forced to making it. And in this one, she has full writing credits. There's no one to combat whatever ideas she had, and
mm,
it didn't work out. It turns out maybe collaborating with other people is a good idea, and she just didn't work out well, and
what sucks is she's been tapped. There's a teaser trailer. Excuse me, one quick second. I got to cough again, Terrell. I'm sorry.
okay.
There's a teaser trailer for Rogue Squadron, the movie, the series, not the movie, but it's a upcoming Star Wars series, Rogue Squadron.
Hmm.
And there's a teaser trailer of what looks like an SUV ad with her driving around, and then she pulls up at an airstrip, and then it's a close up of like the trunk of her SUV open,
Hmm.
and you just see like the silhouette of her getting changed, and then the camera zooms out, and she's in the bright orange X-wing pilot outfit, walking
Hmm.
towards an X-wing on the strip,
Hmm.
and that they've tapped her for the Rogue Squadron series. And man, I hope that doesn't suck. I also hope they better effing bring back Dennis Lawson as Wedge, because in the original expanded universe books, Wedge Antilles takes over Rogue Squadron, and he's their commanding officer.
Hmm.
So if it's some unknown, unnamed chick that nobody's ever heard of before,
Hmm.
commanding Rogue Squadron, I don't think I'm going to watch it because that's not the canon for it.
Hmm.
Also, about your Rian Johnson comment about feeling bad for him, don't. He was at a San Diego Comic Con pretty much telling the fans who don't like his style to F off. So don't feel bad for that asshole.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
feel bad for that guy.
he's not a people person. I don't think he makes good movies. I think he makes good looking movies. Like the second Star Wars movie, say what you want, it looked pretty good. Like there's scenes where with colors and so much that he knows, man. He's good. But at visuals, but anything else is just a disaster. I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah, it's too much woke politicking, in his movies, and the franchise suffered for it. They lost a major fan. I've been a fan since I was a little kid. I was buying the toys. As an adult, I was buying the toys. As a collector, I was buying the books. And then that sequel trilogy came out, and I'm like, wow, I'm not giving them any more of my money.
Right,
Even if you notice, they're not even pushing sequel trilogy toys. What's the hottest thing out right now? It's Mandalorian toys.
right.
And where are they available? When's the last time you were to like a Target or a Walmart, right? There's
Mm.
barely any Star Wars action figures or vehicles or playsets on the shelves. It's all Lego now. You got to go directly through Hasbro to get anything Star Wars, and it's all Mandalorian.
Well,
You're not going to find a Kylo Ren anymore or a Rey or any of that garbage.
okay, so two comments. The first
Mhm.
comment is because they took out all those sequel trilogy toys out of circulation because they were selling so badly.
Yeah, they were making money.
They were not making any money, so they pulled them off the shelves so they can write them off. So that's the reason why you can't find that stuff because they were just like we were better off melting these things down and making anything else, anything.
Yeah.
The second thing is, and this is going to sound really crazy, but because they melted all those down, and because so few were sold, and the sales were so bad, and you can't buy them anymore, these toys might actually be, and I hate to say it, collector's items a couple of years from now because there's so few of them in circulation, and Star Wars fans are refusing to buy them. So,
I don't
you
know who
know,
they'd have value to that. If Star Wars fans don't want them now, I doubt somebody's going to be like, oh man, I should have bought that Kylo Ren 20 years ago, and now it's 50 cents more expensive on eBay. you know?
eBay is a strange beast. That's
Yeah.
all.
You know what
eBay
blows my
is
mind
a
too?
yeah.
Is a 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figure is $20. I
Uh-huh.
remember when I was a kid with tax, it came out to $2.79. Like I get it. There's been a lot of inflation since I was a kid. But for a 3 3/4 inch piece of plastic with some articulation and a couple accessories to be $20 freaking, that's insane.
Because, well, I mean,
You don't have a reason for it, Terrell. Come on. Who are you
no,
kidding?
I mean the reason is because it's not the kids who are playing those toys. Kids don't play with toys. Kids play video games. Those
I know a
toys are
bunch of
for
kids that play
collectors.
toys. I'm going to call you out on that one, man.
Kids,
And
dude, kids play with games, man. You're raising your kid right. You're not like putting a phone in front of her face all the time. You're
yeah,
not letting an iPad or a phone babysit your kid. Guess what most people are doing? Like, take a wild, wild guess how most people are doing.
I,
They
I don't know. You tell me.
they're the kids are playing Roblox, Minecraft.
See, now I have a family friend of mine, and they're bringing up their kid with like they're doing puzzles together, Legos. Um, they are doing. I think the son is like 9 or 10 or no 12,
Mhm.
and they're doing like tabletop gaming with him, like that giant plastic crack money pit called Warhammer 40K. They're doing
Don't know
that.
anything about it. Can tell me more.
No, no, that's you don't ask that question. Don't ask that question. I don't want to go down that road. That's probably what I'm going to do after this the Howlcast tonight. I'm going to go up and finally paint.
Okay.
Imagine that, right?
Right, right. Crazy. You're a fan? You sure you don't want to talk about Warhammer? I'm down with talking about Warhammer. What
This
it's
would be
all about.
another hour long. But sure, why not, Therral? You've yanked my left testicle enough. Here we go. So there's also a lot of woke bullshit surrounding Warhammer 40K. Now I think we mentioned a couple of podcasts somewhere. Um, Warhammer 40,000. 40K stands for the year 40,000. So it's roughly 38,000 years in the future from now. The world, Earth as we know it is pretty much a giant desert because the oceans have been depleted, massive radiation and waste. There's no more regulation at all. And the entire human race and the human imperium as a whole falls under uh, a theocratic dictatorship slash tyranny. And some of the woke nonsense that's just cropped up about 40K is that there's not enough representation. And spoiler alert, there is, because there's two armies that are all female. Actually, there's a third. The Dark Eldar witches are starting to get their own detachment. Technically, there's a fourth because there's also the Wood Elves, which are predominantly female characters as well. So it's like just shut your pie hole and go find a problem somewhere else because other people are having fun and you don't know what fun is anymore because you're used to you've hung up your fun shoes and decided to adopt an identity of misery because you're not allowed to enjoy anything, you're supposed to be offended by anything, don't go looking to cause problems elsewhere where there isn't a problem. There's already loads of representation, and it's just stupid what's cropping up around 40K right now with this.
I think okay. I have a. I've been thinking about it, and I've been reading more about the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're actually missing the real point of all this. The reason why there's this controversy is not because there's, at least in my opinion, not because there's inherent issues in the property, but because Warhammer 40K has gotten so big and it's becoming so popular. The books are flying off the shelves. There's multiple video games coming out almost every year on YouTube. Fan media is super well appreciated.
Well, I got to interrupt you on that one real quick.
Yeah.
I think so. Only a few years ago, maybe 5 or 8 years ago, Games Workshop, the intellectual property owner of all things Warhammer and Warhammer 40K, used to immediately send out cease and desist and then litigate against
Hmm.
people that started up independent projects. And it seems like they've drastically rolled back on that, and they're allowing independent creativity
Hmm.
with their product. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen Astartes. We wouldn't
Hmm.
have seen Death of Hope. We wouldn't have seen Hell's Reach.
Hmm.
There's people now that it's obvious their art style is that they're still learning how 3D animation works,
Hmm.
but holy shit, they're doing it without being, without getting served with a cease and desist letter. Anyway,
Okay.
continue. I'm sorry, I
No,
kind of jumped in
no,
on you there.
no. It's. I mean, it's valid. I think that the reason why we're having these controversies in this particular hobby is mainly because the hobby's gotten so large and it's got such a large YouTube presence now that it attracts attention. And when you attract attention, you're going to attract people with these voices and these views or these political prerogatives. I don't think it's because the material itself is problematic. I honestly think it's because we've hit a point where Warhammer 40K is gotten so mainstream that you're gonna have people who would never try the game out, would never read a book, would never read the Reddits, never talk to people who play the game, who just see the pictures or just see uh, the marketing and have a very shallow, little to no understanding to make comments, to have hot takes. I think it's gotten that big. You can score points off of Warhammer now. It's that big.
I have a completely different opinion on it than you, Terrell.
Yeah.
You might be a better human being than me. I think that these people have nothing better to do. If you have to find fault when there is no fault with a tabletop game, then you got your priorities in the wrong place. It's literally a game. You're going to complain about a game where you're moving plastic crack miniatures around the table and making pew 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 noises and pretending there's rockets and stuff
Rolling
shooting
tons
across
and
the
tons
table
of dice.
and rolling mountains of dice, and you have to find fault with this. You've got nothing better to do with yourself. Find a higher priority concern in your life, or get involved in like a charity or something, or volunteer. But find something else to do with yourself other than complain and look for fault where there isn't any.
Well, I mean, this is a business now. Finding fault, having these kinds of having hot takes is a business. Is a way to form a following and to score points. It doesn't matter what you're scoring points on. Not really. I mean, if you know what I'm trying to say, like the people who are commenting are not people who've given a. I again, I might be wrong, but I bet you the people commenting are not people who've given Games Workshop a cent or have gone to a hobby store
Or
and
even familiar with the games, you
or
know?
even familiar with games. Right, right. There's nothing. It's you gotta score. You gotta score layups. And Warhammer is on its surface extremely testosterone driven. It's all about space marines. And it's all the any female characters have the pictures have them looking pretty good. Whether it's Eldar or Human Sister Silence or
Yeah.
whatnot. And so it's an easy layup to people who make it their brand to have hot takes. I honestly don't think these are people with good intentions. I think the intention is hot takes, get clicks, get views, score points. It's not really
And
to
you are
move
going to get us
anything.
in trouble with hot ones if you keep saying hot takes. I guarantee you somebody's going to confuse those.
No, no, no. So there's like it was ESPN in business. I'm sorry, in sports. They became a business where they stopped showing highlights because everyone with an internet connection can see their own highlights, and they became much more about these hot opinions, and they started calling them hot takes. So I mean, it's a business world for social media world that we live in. It's a business analogy. Like if you and I think this podcast would do so much better if you and I went fake and just started yelling and screaming and having crazy, extreme opinions about all sorts of stuff. If we really wanted viewers and clicks and all that stuff, it's an easy way to go, and that's what most people actually do. It's much easier to do that than actually have informed opinions, have reasoned thought, have to be humble and say like, hey, I don't know much about that, so I'm not going to talk about it. That doesn't get you popularity now.
Right. Well, if you looked at our subscriber list, it's not that high yet.
I mean, we just started,
Yeah. I mean,
but
Terrell, you're not saying I need to start calling you ma'am, are you?
I
All
mean,
right.
no, but like you see this constant like what are people's intentions? Is it what do they do? Like sometimes when I read like people's hot takes, I actually hit the Twitter. I try to read more of what they wrote, and you can tell right away if you look at people's histories, you can tell right away what the situation is. If their history of previous writing and comments sound like a rational human being that has some things they like and some things they don't like, some opinions that are strong, some opinions that are weak, if they sound that's a normal person. If they come at you like a normal person, then you got to take them seriously because maybe they have a point, maybe they have an angle of approach that you didn't have yourself. Maybe they have an interesting point of view. But if they're always one note, their volume is always set to 10, if they're always
Yeah.
and if they don't concentrate on anything else, then okay, we know what the situation is. And that's how I feel. Like I really don't take this I don't take these comments very seriously. And I think Games Workshop is making amends. They are trying to do more, and they are trying to put people of color. They're trying to put females into the covers, into the forefront as stars of uh, of their properties. I mean, sisters, the whole saints. Only women can be saints in the Warhammer world. So you have Saint Celestine. So you have some of the most baddest uh, characters in the lore, females. And so I gotta respect the property owner for taking criticism and trying to do things differently, but I
Uh-huh.
also gotta look at the people giving the criticism and be like, where are you coming from?
I think we went way off topic here. This
Oh
was
yeah.
supposed to be about uh, Terminator Dark Fate and Lone Wolf's rant about how horrible the Star Wars sequel trilogy was because of the woke feminazi push to jam their politics down your
You
throat.
can I'm totally okay with woke pushing. I'm more than fine, but the quality has to be there. The
It
quality
needs
has
to
to
be
be good.
organic. Like if it's like, look,
Yeah,
they're qualified just because. Uh-uh.
right.
You
It has
know,
to make sense.
yeah, exactly. So I think on that note, we're going to end it here for now, Terrell.
Okay.
Thank you once again, everyone, for joining the Lone Wolf Howlcast, and we'll see
Thank
you
you.
again soon. Have a good
Later,
night.
guys.